Evan Hale had always lived a quiet life on the Helios exchange station, a massive structure hanging like a silver ring above a blue gas giant. Every day felt almost the same. He woke up early, grabbed a cup of weak station coffee, and went straight to work repairing broken circuits or replacing old power coils. He liked peaceful work. He liked staying invisible. The station was full of diplomats, soldiers, scientists, and alien representatives from 10 different worlds. Evan, however, was simply an engineer. No one looked at him twice, and that suited him perfectly. But on the morning when the Lumerian royal fleet arrived, everything changed. The first sign was the vibration felt through the metal floor. The second sign was the sudden silence in the corridor. People stopped walking. Conversations froze. Even the giant display screens dimmed the normal information and replaced it with a single message: State visit, Lumerian Empire arrival. On any normal day, visitors came and went, but this was different. The Lumerians were one of the most powerful empires in the sector. Their arrival meant politics, ceremony, formality, and stress for everyone. Evan had no plans to get involved. He just wanted to finish his shift and go home. But the chief engineer ordered all staff to stand in the main hall as part of the welcoming group. "We need everyone to show respect," the chief said. "Even if you're the quiet type. Fourth do. Chief too." So Evan joined the hundreds of humans and aliens assembling in the grand hall. The chamber was enormous, its ceiling covered with holographic stars and floating banners. Alien guards wearing shining armor lined the sides. Diplomats arranged themselves near the front. Evan stayed at the very back, hoping no one would notice him. After a long wait, a deep metallic sound filled the air as the giant doors opened. The Lumerian Emperor walked in first, tall and calm, with skin that shimmered like pale crystal. His hair flowed behind him like strands of glowing silver. Behind him came royal advisors, guards, and attendants. And in the very center walked the princess. Princess Celira was known throughout the sector, even among humans who rarely paid attention to alien royalty. She had a quiet, graceful presence, and her silver eyes were famous for seeing beyond simple thoughts. Many believed she could sense lies and emotions with a single glance. Today, she wore a soft blue robe decorated with lines of silver dust that seemed to move like flowing water. Everyone in the hall lowered their heads. Even Evan bowed. Despite standing so far back he barely saw anything. A Lumerian announcer stepped forward and began reading ceremonial words. His voice echoed throughout the hall. He spoke of peace, unity, partnership, and ancient bonds. But Evan was barely listening. He was only thinking about when he could leave. His shift was long, and he still had to fix 3 separate power relays before night. Then something strange happened. The princess stopped walking. She stood perfectly still. The announcer paused. Even the emperor looked at her with confusion. Princess Celira lifted her head and slowly scanned the crowd. Her eyes moved from one side of the hall to the other, as if searching for someone. As if she felt something none of them could sense. Her eyes kept moving until finally they reached the back row. They locked onto Evan. He straightened in surprise. Maybe she was looking past him? Maybe there was someone behind him? But there wasn't. He turned and saw only the far wall. The hall grew strangely quiet. People noticed the princess staring at a human engineer in worn-out work clothes. Evan felt heat rise to his face. He wanted to look away, but could not. Her gaze held him as firmly as a hand on his shoulder. Then, in a voice that carried across the entire chamber, the princess lifted her arm, pointed directly at him, and said, "He is my future husband." For a moment, the whole world stopped. The diplomats near the front gasped. The human admiral blinked in shock. The emperor stood frozen, his expression unreadable. Even the holographic stars above seemed to dim with surprise. Someone near Evan whispered, Did she just say future husband? Another said, Who is that guy? Evan's mouth opened, but no words came out. He hadn't spoken to royalty in his entire life. He barely spoke to anyone except machines. The chief engineer beside him nudged his arm so hard he almost fell forward. Evan, what did you do? I didn't do anything, Evan whispered back, panicking. But the princess wasn't done. She took a few slow steps forward, her eyes never leaving him. I speak with clarity and certainty, she continued. He is the one. She continued. The emperor raised his hand. Sayalira, this is not the time for visions. It is not only a vision, she said softly. It is truth. The hall exploded with noise. Guards started moving. Advisors whispered furiously. Humans and aliens stared at Evan like he had suddenly grown wings. Everyone had questions, but Evan himself had the biggest one. Why him? Before anyone could ask the princess anything else. The emperor ended the ceremony early. Guards escorted the royal family out through a private exit. Station security quickly surrounded Evan. They did not aim weapons at him, but the way they formed a tight circle felt suffocating. A senior human officer approached Evan with a serious face. You need to come with us, he said. Can someone explain what's happening? Evan asked, his voice shaking. We don't know, the officer replied. But when a princess of a major empire publicly claims a spouse and points at a human technician, it becomes a political matter. Evan wanted to run. He wanted to hide, but he was too shocked to move. The officers guided him out of the hall and into a secure meeting room. There, he sat alone for several minutes, hands shaking and heart pounding. He tried to calm himself, but his mind kept replaying the moment when the princess pointed at him. Eventually, the door opened, and a Lumerian advisor entered. His expression was neither angry nor kind, just focused. Engineer Evan Hale, he said. We require your cooperation to understand this situation. Evan swallowed hard. I don't know the princess. I've never even seen her before today. I didn't do anything strange. We are aware, the advisor said. Her Highness does not speak lightly. Her visions are rare, but strong. When she senses something, it is taken seriously. What visions? Evan asked. Why me? I'm just an engineer. The advisor studied him for a long moment, then sighed. It is not my place to explain her thoughts. But understand this. You are now connected to the Empire in a way you cannot walk away from easily. Many will have questions. Many will fear what this means. Evan felt his stomach twist. Fear? Why fear? Because, the advisor said quietly, some will not accept a human standing anywhere near the royal line. The words made Evan's chest tighten. He never wanted trouble, and now trouble had found him completely on its own. Before the advisor could continue, the door slid open again. This time, the princess herself stepped inside. Everyone stood except Evan, who was too stunned to move. The advisor bowed deeply and stepped back. Princess Sayalira walked toward Evan with slow, calm steps. Up close, she seemed even more ethereal, but her eyes held something unexpected: gentleness, quiet strength, and certainty. Evan Hale, she said softly, do not be afraid. I spoke the truth, and I will not take back my words. Evan swallowed. Your Highness, I don't understand why you chose me. I didn't do anything special. Her eyes softened. Fate is not always about actions. Sometimes it is about presence. When I looked into the crowd, I saw many minds busy, loud, full of noise. But when my gaze reached you, your mind was still, clear, untouched by shadows. You were the only one whose thoughts I could not read fully. That has never happened before. Ren. Evan blinked. You couldn't read my mind? No, she said. And that tells me something important. You are the one I saw in my future vision. Evan's breath caught. So this was about a vision. But why him? Please, he said quietly. I'm not a warrior. I'm not powerful. I'm nobody important. The princess shook her head. Do not say you are nobody. Those who believe they are small often carry the greatest strength. He looked down at his worn work gloves, unsure what strength she saw. She continued, I know you are confused. I know this is sudden. But I will not force anything on you. All I ask is that you stay close until we understand the truth of the vision. Evan hesitated. He wanted to say no. He wanted to go back to his quiet life. But the sincerity in her voice made him pause. She wasn't demanding. She wasn't arrogant. She genuinely believed he mattered. Before he could answer, a sudden alarm echoed through the station. A loud, sharp warning that meant danger. Guards rushed forward instantly. The princess turned toward the sound, then looked back at Evan with calm urgency. Stay behind me. Evan's pulse spiked. He had no idea what was happening, but the princess acted as if she expected this. The door slid open again and a guard rushed in. Your Highness, there is an unauthorized breach near the docking ring. The princess's expression turned serious. As I feared. As you feared? Evan asked, confused. She looked at him again, her voice low. This is only the beginning. The guard urged her to move, and she stepped aside to exit with the escort. But before leaving, she paused and looked at Evan once more. You are not here by accident, she said gently. Whether you believe me or not, your life is already part of mine. Then she left, and Evan was alone again. But his quiet life on the station was gone forever. Evan spent the next hour sitting alone in the secure room, listening to the distant station, alarms echo like heavy footsteps in the walls. He couldn't calm himself. His hands kept shaking, and his mind kept returning to the princess's voice. Her calm certainty. Her soft eyes that seemed to see through everything except him. He didn't know whether he should feel honored, afraid, confused, or all three. Mostly, he felt lost. He never asked for this, never even dreamed anything like this could happen. He was a simple engineer, someone whose life was supposed to stay quiet, unnoticed, and ordinary. But now, even the silence felt heavy. Too heavy. The door finally opened again, and this time it was Captain Reese, a tall human officer responsible for security on the station. His face looked tired and serious. You all right, Hale? He asked. No, Evan admitted, voice shaking. I don't know what's happening. Reese sighed and sat down across from him. A breach happened near the docking ring, just after the ceremony. Unknown individuals tried to enter the restricted bay, where the Lumerian ship is docked. Evan's eyes widened. An attack? We don't know, Reese answered. But it was planned. They knew exactly where to go. Our forces stopped them before they reached the princess. He leaned forward. This is bigger than you think. Very big. Evan felt a cold weight form in his stomach. You think this is connected to what she said about me? Reese nodded slowly. Her visions have saved lives before. If she says you're important, then you're important. Whether we understand how or not. Evan rubbed his face with both hands. But why me? I'm not special. Maybe not to yourself, Reese said quietly, but to someone, you clearly are. Before Evan could respond, the door slid open again. Several Lumerian guards entered, their crystal armor shimmering with soft light. The lead guard, tall and stern, looked directly at Evan. You will come with us, he said firmly. Her Highness requests your presence. Evan stood slowly. He felt like he was stepping deeper into a world he didn't understand. But he had no choice. The guards escorted him through long corridors, up several lifts, and finally toward the royal section of the station, a place he had never been allowed to enter before. The royal quarters were breathtaking, Soft lights flowed across the walls like moving water. Floating crystals illuminated the hallways with gentle silver glow. Everything felt warm, calm, and expensive. Two guards opened the final door. Inside was Princess Celira, standing near a large observation window. She wasn't wearing her ceremonial clothing now. Only a simple, light blue robe with delicate patterns. She turned when Evan stepped inside. "You came," she said softly. "I didn't really have a choice," Evan said before he could stop himself. Then he flushed. "Sorry, Your Highness. I didn't mean it rudely." She smiled, a small, gentle smile that surprised him. "Do not worry. I understand." The guards left the room, closing the door behind them. Evan felt awkward standing there, unsure if he should bow or speak first. But the princess saved him from the confusion. "You are safe here," she said. "Sit, please." He sat carefully on the circular couch near the window. She sat beside him, not too close, but close enough that he felt her presence clearly. He finally asked the question that had been burning inside him since the ceremony. "Why did you say that? Why call me your future husband? You don't even know me." The princess looked out the window as if organizing her thoughts. Then she spoke gently, but with steady confidence. "I did not choose lightly. My visions do not come often. And when they come, they are not like dreams. They are pieces of truth waiting to happen." She looked at Evan again. "I saw you before I ever met you." Evan swallowed. "Saw me? How?" "In a vision of danger," she said. "A vision of my empire under attack by a hidden enemy. I saw myself standing in darkness. I saw voices trying to break into my mind. And beside me stood only one person, who was untouched. A human. You." Evan's breath caught. He didn't know what to say. It felt unreal, like he was listening to a story meant for someone else's life. Celira continued. "In the vision, every Lumerian around me was controlled, my father, my guards, even my closest advisors. But not you. You were the only mind the enemy could not touch." She inhaled softly. "That is why I pointed to you. Not because of emotion, not because of desire, but because you are the one who saves us." Evan felt a strange mix of fear and disbelief. "What makes you think I can save anyone? I fix wires and broken panels. I'm not a hero." "You underestimate yourself," the princess said softly. "Your spirit is calm. Your mind is clear. When I looked into the crowd today, I heard thousands of voices. But when my eyes met yours, I heard nothing. Your thoughts were quiet. That is rare. Very rare." Evan shook his head. "Maybe I'm just boring." She laughed softly. "No, not boring. Shielded. Different. Humans are strange to us. You think in unpredictable ways. But with you, it was more than that." She looked into his eyes. "I could not see your fears. I could not read your worries. Usually I sense everything. But with you, it was like touching a calm lake, where the bottom cannot be seen." Evan didn't know how to respond. No one had ever described him that way. "But why say something so big, in front of everyone?" he asked. She looked down for a moment. "Because once I recognized you, I knew the danger had already begun. And saying those words was the only way to protect you." After Annelide, Evan blinked. "Protect me? From what?" "From those who fear my visions," she said quietly. "From those who think your presence is a threat. From those who already plan to silence you before you understand your role." A shiver ran through him. "Yes," she said. "There are groups inside my empire who want control. If they knew you were important to my future, they would try to remove you." Evan stared at her, stunned. "I don't want to be in the middle of this." "I know," she said gently, "but you already are." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, trying to breathe slowly. The princess watched him for a moment, then spoke again. The breach earlier was not random. It was a test by those who wished to harm my family. They wanted to see how quickly they could reach our ship. Her expression darkened slightly. They will try again. Evan looked up sharply. And you think I'm involved? That I'm being targeted too? Not yet, she said. But you will be. Once they learn what I said about you. That didn't make Evan feel better. His chest tightened with worry. So, what do we do? The princess stood and walked to a small console. With a gentle motion, she dimmed the lights until the room felt warm and safe. Then she sat down again, this time a little closer. You stay near me, she said calmly, until we understand your role. Evan felt his heart beat faster, but not because of fear alone. Something about her presence calmed him. Despite everything. Why would I be immune? He asked. Humans have always been difficult for our telepaths to read, she explained. Your minds are shaped differently. You think in straight lines, but also in circles. You hide emotion behind humor, and truth behind fear. For a species like mine, that makes you unpredictable. Evan rubbed the back of his neck. I didn't know that. Most humans do not, she said. But I believe this difference is the reason the enemy cannot touch you. Evan frowned. Enemy? Who are they? The princess looked away briefly, her face troubled. I do not know their name, but I know their presence. They are like shadows that move inside thoughts. They do not attack bodies. They attack minds. Evan felt a chill. And you think they're already here? I think they have been here for a long time, she answered. And the breach today was their first open move. He leaned back slowly. She took a deep breath. Now, we prepare. We stay alert. We learn more about you. And we wait for their next step. Evan stared out the window. Stars drifted slowly across the dark space beyond. A day ago, he was replacing a broken panel in a cargo bay. Now he was sitting beside an alien princess who believed he was the key to saving her empire. It felt unreal. Impossible. Yet when he looked at Celira, she didn't seem unsure or confused. She believed what she said. Completely. He hesitated, then asked quietly, What if your vision is wrong? She turned to him. Her silver eyes glowed softly. Then, you will simply be a kind human engineer who shared a few days of danger with me. She paused. But if my vision is right, then you will save many lives, including mine. Evan looked away again, overwhelmed. A soft chime echoed in the room, and a guard outside spoke. Your Highness, the Emperor requests your presence in the council chamber. Princess Celira stood but looked back at Evan. You should come with me. This concerns you too. Evan rose slowly. His legs felt unsteady, but he followed her. As they walked toward the council chamber together, he realized something important. His life was no longer quiet. His life was no longer simple. And whether he was ready or not, he was now standing in the center of a story far bigger than anything he had ever imagined. Evan walked beside Princess Celira as they entered the council chamber, though every step made him feel like he was going somewhere he didn't belong. The chamber was large, shaped like a circle with a glowing table in the middle. Lumerian advisors stood around it. The Emperor sat at the head, his expression serious but controlled. When Celira stepped into the room, all advisors bowed. Evan stood awkwardly, unsure what he was supposed to do. He simply lowered his head slightly, hoping it was enough. The Emperor's eyes moved to Evan. Engineer Hale, he said. You are here because my daughter believes you play a role in protecting our empire. His voice was calm but strong. I do not dismiss her visions, but I need clarity. We all do. End quote. Evan felt his throat tighten. I don't know anything, Your Majesty. I'm just trying to understand what's happening like everyone else. One advisor, older and sharp-eyed, stepped forward. Humans have unpredictable minds. Is it possible he is somehow shielding something? Perhaps unknowingly? Sailira shook her head gently. His mind is calm. That is why I knew him instantly. There is no deceit. Another advisor spoke, his tone suspicious. Princess, with respect. The breach today was timed too perfectly. The attackers moved the moment you spoke your declaration. Are you certain this human had no connection to them? Evan froze. What? No. I don't even know who they were. The Emperor raised a hand, silencing the argument. We are not here to accuse. We seek understanding. Sailira stepped closer to her father. Father, the shadows from my vision have already begun moving. The attackers today were controlled. Their minds felt hollow. The room grew still. Hollow? The Emperor repeated. Yes, she said. No fear, no thought, no emotion. Like their minds were covered by something else. They moved with a purpose, not their own. Evan remembered her describing the mysterious enemy, something that attacked minds, not bodies. A cold shiver crawled up his spine. Are you saying they were being controlled? Sailira nodded slowly. Yes, and whatever controlled them is the same presence from my vision. And Lever sighed. Lever mensid dollars. With rate haps a video. The Emperor leaned back, deep in thought. Everyone looked at Evan. He suddenly realized something terrifying if the enemy could control minds. And he was one of the few they couldn't control. Then, he wasn't just important. He was a target. He felt lightheaded. Sailira's voice softened. You will not be alone. The Emperor spoke again. We need to understand why this human is immune. If humans have a natural resistance, we must confirm it. Princess, take him to the observation wing. Run a calm mind scan. Do not force anything. Yes, father, Sailira said. Evan went pale. It won't hurt, Sailira said. I promise. The advisors continued talking as Sailira motioned for Evan to follow her out. The hallways to the observation wing were quiet. Evan walked beside her, trying to keep up. He glanced at her. So, this scan, what exactly does it do? It shows how your thoughts move, she explained. Not the details, not your memories. Only the patterns. It tells us how your mind reacts to external touch. No one will see your personal secrets. Evan sighed in relief. Good, because my secrets are mostly embarrassing. She smiled softly. Embarrassing secrets are safe with me. Something about the way she said it eased him. The room she brought him to was shaped like a dome, with soft silver light and floating patterns on the walls. Sailira motioned to a circular platform in the center. You may sit here, she said gently. Evan sat nervously. She stood in front of him, her expression calm and focused. This will take only a moment. Look at me. He looked into her silver eyes. She raised her hands slowly, palms facing him. A soft glow surrounded her fingers. Evan felt a light warmth around his head, like a gentle breeze brushing against his thoughts. It wasn't painful, it almost felt comforting. Her voice was soft. Breathe. Slowly. He inhaled deeply. At first, nothing happened. Then he felt something like a soft knock on the edge of his mind. A presence trying to sense his thoughts. Sailira's telepathic touch. It didn't feel intrusive. More like someone tapping lightly on a closed door. She frowned slightly. Your mind is very quiet. Too quiet for a normal human under stress. I think I shut down when I panic, Evan said weakly. It's a skill. She smiled a little, then her expression turned serious again. Now I will press a little deeper. The warm feeling grew slightly stronger, but then something strange happened. Her glow flickered. She gasped softly, as if surprised. She stepped back, eyes wide. Evan stood quickly. What happened? Did I break something? Sailira stared at him with disbelief. Evan blinked. I did what? You blocked my scan. Her voice was calm but filled with wonder. Not by resisting. Not by fighting. Simply by being yourself. Your mind closed the moment I touched something deeper. I didn't do it on purpose, Evan said quickly. That is what makes it important, she said. This is natural. You have a barrier, even you do not control. He felt his heart race. Is that good? It means the enemy cannot enter either, she said. This is why I saw you in my vision. Before they could say more, the room's lights flickered suddenly. A sharp alarm echoed through the hall. Sailira and Evan turned as a guard rushed in. Your Highness, one of the advisors collapsed in the council chamber. Sailira's face filled with concern. Collapsed? Why? He started speaking strangely, the guard said. Like he was answering a voice no one else heard. Then his eyes went black, and he attacked another advisor without warning. Evan froze. That sounds like... Yes, Sailira whispered. Mind Shroud influence. What is Mind Shroud? Evan asked. The shadow presence from my vision, she said. I did not know their name until now. But I recognize the signs. They consume thought. They hide inside minds. They take control without the victim understanding. Evan felt sick. And they're already inside the council? Yes, Sailira said. They are already here. They hurried back to the council chamber. When they arrived, chaos waited for them. Guards were holding down an advisor, while medical officers tried to calm him. He screamed words that didn't sound like his voice. They are coming, he cried. The mind with no shape. The hunger in the dark. The silver girl cannot escape. The engineer must break. Evan felt cold all over. The advisor suddenly went limp, unconscious. The emperor stood nearby, his face grim. He looked at his daughter. It has begun. Sailira. She nodded. Yes, father. The emperor then turned to Evan. His voice softened slightly. You have seen now what we face. This enemy is not flesh, it is thought. You, human, are the only mind they cannot enter. Evan swallowed hard, feeling all eyes on him. You do not need to fight alone, Sailira said. But you must stay with me. You are the anchor that keeps me from being consumed. What do you mean? Evan asked. In my vision, she said quietly. I was surrounded by darkness. A voice was trying to break into my mind. I almost lost myself. But then I felt a presence steady, calm, human. When I held onto it, the darkness weakened. Evan stared at her. You mean, me? Yes, she said. Your mind is the one thing the shadows cannot touch. If you stay near me, I can fight them. The emperor added, the enemy will strike again. They want the princess. They want to control the royal mind. And they now know you are the one who stands in their way. Evan felt fear, but also something else, responsibility. Sailira stepped closer, her voice gentle. I know you did not choose this. I know you wanted a quiet life. But I am asking you, will you stand with me? Evan looked into her eyes and saw no pride, no royalty, just sincerity. Someone trying to protect her people. Someone who believed in him before he believed in himself. He took a slow breath. Yes, he said quietly. I'll stay by your side. The princess smiled softly. Relief in her eyes. But before anyone could speak again, the lights flickered violently. A deep, unnatural hum filled the chamber. Then every screen on the walls turned black before glowing with a single symbol. A swirling, fractured circle. Sailira went pale. Evan whispered, Is that the mind shroud? Sailira nodded. The symbol pulsed once. Then, a distorted voice echoed around the room. deep and cold. Princess of Lumeria. Your mind will be ours. The chamber filled with silence. But Evan stepped in front of Celira without thinking. You're not touching her. Ruplay. The voice paused. Then it said, Human. You are not welcome. Evan felt his heart pound, but he refused to move. Celira placed a hand on his arm, steadying herself. They fear you. That means your presence weakens them. The Emperor shouted for guards. Advisors scrambled. But the voice spoke again, louder, echoing inside the walls. The one who blocks us must fall. Celira gripped Evan's arm tighter. Stay close, she whispered. Do not let go. And for the first time since this began, Evan understood something clearly. This wasn't just her fight anymore. It was theirs. Together. Evan felt his heart pounding as the distorted voice echoed through the chamber. Every guard and advisor froze, fear gripping them. But Evan did not move. Celira's hand on his arm was steady, her calm presence giving him strength. The voice repeated, cold and commanding, The one who blocks us must fall. He swallowed hard. Not today, he whispered under his breath. The symbol on the walls pulsed again. The air grew heavy, almost solid, as if a shadow stretched through the room, touching the minds of everyone present. Evan felt a strange pressure in his head, as though something invisible was probing him, testing him. He gritted his teeth. This was what Celira had warned him about the mind shroud, the parasitic presence that could control thoughts, break wills, and enslave minds. But something strange happened. The pressure against his mind didn't succeed. It pushed. It tried, but it couldn't enter. His mind stayed calm, clear, like a lake untouched by wind. Celira noticed it too. Her silver eyes widened slightly. It's working, she whispered. You are the anchor. They cannot touch you. Evan nodded slowly, determination rising in him. Fear was still there. But now, it was mixed with something else, a sense of purpose. He wasn't just standing there by chance. He was standing there to protect the princess. And in doing so, to protect the empire. The shadow in the room grew stronger. The symbol pulsed again, and suddenly the air shifted as if the walls themselves were alive. Some of the guards gasped. Their thoughts touched briefly by the mind shroud, feeling confusion, dread, and unease. Celira whispered, Hold my mind steady, and placed both her hands on Evan's shoulders. He took a deep breath, focusing his thoughts entirely on her. Each pulse of darkness grew weaker as he focused, like a candle trying to withstand a storm. Then, slowly, the shadow began to recoil, as though it had not expected resistance this strong. The distorted voice hissed, Human. Impossible. Your mind is. Evan blocked out the rest. All he could think about was keeping Celira safe. He concentrated on her presence, on her breathing, on the silver glow in her eyes. And then he felt a strange connection, a bridge of trust forming between them. Not magical, not alien. Just real. The bond of someone believing in another when everything else is falling apart. The room quaked. Advisors and guards held onto their stations. Some of them fell, shaking from fear. But Evan stood firm. The mind shroud tried again, more violently, lashing at the room like a black wave. He felt it brush against him, a cold touch probing at his mind. And he pushed back not with strength or knowledge, but with presence. The calm certainty he had never known before. The presence of a human who refused to be broken. And then it snapped. A sudden pulse of energy exploded from Evan. He didn't understand it himself. He felt the mind shroud recoil violently, shrieking inside the invisible network of thought it had been trying to invade. The symbol on the walls fractured and disappeared. The voice screamed, a final cry of frustration, and vanished entirely. The chamber was quiet. The air felt lighter. The guards and advisors looked around, wide-eyed, but alive. They could think again. The shadows had gone. Evan sank to his knees, trembling. Celira knelt beside him instantly. "You did it," she whispered. "You saved us." He shook his head, still trying to catch his breath. I don't even know how." She smiled softly, placing a hand on his cheek. "You did it because you never gave up. You stayed calm. You stayed steady. And you trusted yourself. That is the strength I saw in you from the start." Evan looked into her silver eyes and realized something he hadn't understood before. He had been chosen not because he was strong or powerful, but because he could remain human, calm, determined, and real, even when the universe tried to crush him. He had been ordinary, yes, but ordinary in a way that mattered now more than anything. The Emperor entered the chamber, walking slowly, his expression unreadable at first. Then, he stopped before Evan and bowed his head slightly. "Engineer Hale," he said quietly, "you have done what I did not believe possible. You have protected my daughter, and in doing so, protected all of Lumeria. You are now part of this empire's history." Evan felt a weight in his chest. Part of him wanted to protest, to say he was just lucky, but he couldn't. Luck had nothing to do with it. He had chosen to act, and that was enough. Celira stood beside him. "You do not need titles, or ranks, or ceremonies," she said, "but you will always be welcome by my side. Not as a hero, not as a soldier, but as someone I trust. Someone the Empire can trust." Evan swallowed, feeling a strange warmth spread through him. For the first time, he did not feel small or insignificant. For the first time, he felt important not because of power, but because of who he was. The advisors were murmuring among themselves. The Emperor motioned for silence. "This human is part of our family now, whether we understand it or not," he said. "He stands beside the princess, and in doing so, he has proven the value of humanity." Evan felt Celira squeeze his hand gently. "I know this is sudden," she said, "and I know you never expected this. But I am glad it happened. Together, we can face what comes next." He nodded slowly, looking at her. I want to stay," he said quietly. "I want to help. I don't know how, but I'll try." "That is enough," she said softly. "Trying is all we need. The rest we can learn together." Outside, the station had settled. Guards checked the corridors. Advisors prepared new protocols. The breach had been contained, but the threat of the mine shroud still lingered. And Evan knew this was just the beginning. He didn't know what challenges would come next, but for the first time, he did not feel powerless. He was no longer a simple engineer. He was part of something larger than himself, part of an empire, part of a story bigger than he had ever imagined. And standing beside him was Princess Celira, the silver-eyed girl who had seen the future and chosen him before he had even known himself. That night, Evan could not sleep. He sat by the observation window, staring out at the swirling stars of the gas giant below. The lights of the Helios station reflected softly in the glass. He thought of the ceremony, of the words spoken, of the vision the princess had trusted him with. He thought of the calm he had found inside himself, the strange strength that had emerged when everything was threatened. And he realized something. He was not alone. He would never be alone again. For the first time in his life, he felt a connection deeper than work, deeper than survival, deeper than fear. A connection of trust, courage, and shared purpose. And he knew, no matter what the universe threw at him next, he could face it. Because he was not just Evan Hale anymore. He was the human the princess had chosen. The anchor against the shadows. The one mind the mind shroud could never touch. And somehow, that made all the difference. He turned to Celira, who had stepped quietly beside him, looking out at the stars as well. "We did it," he whispered. She smiled faintly. "Yes. But this is only the beginning." "Yes." Evan nodded. "I know." Her eyes met his, glowing softly in the dim light. "Together," she agreed. And for the first time since the Lumerian fleet had arrived, Evan felt a sense of peace. Not because the threat was gone. Not because he knew what the future held. But because he knew he would not face it alone. The future was uncertain, yes, but for the first time, it was also hopeful. And hope, he realized, could be stronger than any shadow. The stars outside continued to spin slowly, indifferent to the struggles below. But Evan no longer felt small beneath them. He felt part of something greater. A story of courage, trust, and humanity's unique strength. The universe was vast, dangerous, and unpredictable. And yet, standing beside Princess Celira, he knew he could meet it head-on. The night was long, the galaxy wide, and the future uncertain. But together, they would face it. And nothing, not shadows, not enemies, not even fear itself could break the bond that had begun tonight. Evan Hale, the simple engineer from a quiet life, had become something extraordinary, and he had only just begun.